Welcome to A Drink of Wisdom. Nathan Drinkard, I'm Jay Wise. Thanks for spending some of your time with us. As you well know, our show is hosted on the Anchor app, but we're also on all the major podcast platforms you can think of, including Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And if you prefer the video format of the show, we're also up on YouTube at the A Drink of Wisdom channel. We hope you check us out, like, listen, share, subscribe, and all the rest of it. We greatly appreciate it. And what's going on, Drink?
You know what it is, man. It's another exciting episode of Drink of Wisdom. You know what time it is. We see what they don't, say what they want. Let's talk some sports, baby. Let's roll, baby.
And away we go in episode 37. The Joker denies Ja. Dak cashes in, and it's that time of year where we talk about NFL franchise tags. We begin today with Miami Heat center Meyers Leonard and the anti-Semitic slur that made the rounds on social media on Tuesday. On Thursday, the NBA announced Leonard would be suspended from the Heat facilities and team activities for a week and also fined $50,000. He'll also be required to participate in a cultural diversity program. Leonard was live streaming his play of the video game Call of Duty when he uttered the slur in the midst of a profanity-based rant. He has since apologized and vowed that his future actions will be more powerful than his use of this word that we will not repeat. NBA Commissioner Adam Silver said the comment was inexcusable, hurtful, and will not be tolerated, and Leonard is expected to uphold the core values of the NBA moving forward, which include equality, tolerance, inclusion, and respect. All right, Drink, over to you. What do you make of this Meyers Leonard situation?
Well, let's just call it what it is. Under no circumstances is having an anti-Semitic slur acceptable. Let's just call it. I don't care what group it is. I don't care how it was said. I don't care if it was on purpose, if it was an accident, which I would like to hear the accident excuse. But it doesn't really matter if you say it's wrong. And I know we was having this conversation. One of the beauties about this show, let me just go down a rabbit hole a little bit. One of the beauties about this show is me being black, you being white, George being white, we get to sit down and look at situations like this, and we can talk about it openly and freely before we get on here and just kind of bounce what we thinking about certain situations before we get on here, and it looked like World War III because we didn't actually say anything about it. And that's the beauty of the show. I like that. Being an African American guy, seeing all this, I like being able to have, you get the input of yours, get the input of Cody, and then it makes me think about some certain stuff a little different. And I like to think it does the same thing for you guys when you hear it from a different perspective. It makes you think about certain things different. I say that to say this: for the first time in forever, an anti-Semitic slur goes down, and it has really nothing to do with black people. So shout out to Meyers Leonard for skipping us out on that one. But I joke about that, but this is unacceptable. Let's get into why I think it's unacceptable. All right. First and foremost here, we're in year 2021. You can't go out, you can't wipe your butt. If you're a public figure, keyword public, you know what I'm saying? You just put it together. Hey, what's your job? Public figure. Okay. Then best believe everything you do is going to be in the public. And these professionals, right? These public figures, they got to know it's so many people out here trying to make a lifestyle for themselves off of your lifestyle, right? And a lot of these reports we get, that's what it is. Whoever the guy or whatever recorded this and, sold it to whoever he sold it to and got, Meyers Leonard in trouble. Meyers Leonard deserved to be in trouble. I'm not knocking it. He definitely deserved to pay some type of punishment. I think the NBA is handling it accordingly. They doing what they got to do. And what I will give the NBA credit for, and we didn't necessarily talk about this, but I thought about it. I'm going to give them credit for punishing him for saying a slur that a lot of people didn't even know. They'll listen to that video and say, I don't understand the problem. I don't even know what that is. And like we was talking about earlier, we're so used to the N-word being associated as the slur, the disrespect. When we as soon as I heard racial slur, the first thing came to my mind is, oh, okay.
Oh God, yeah.
He must drop the N-bomb in the
Yep.
in the group, and somebody recorded it. But when I heard what he actually said, which just as bad as the N-bomb, but because it goes to a different race, people kind of sit back a little bit. What I liked about the NBA was they was like, you might as well say the N-word, you out of here. We're gonna punish you. You're gonna sit. You're gonna do this because we're not gonna take any anti-Semitic racial slurs. Any, not just the N-word, not just this community, that community, any community. So I appreciate the NBA for doing that. Meyers Leonard, you're a professional. You know what you can and cannot say. I don't want to hear none of that bull about, well, I didn't know it was bad and we was playing.
Yeah, you don't get to have that excuse today.
If you didn't know it was bad, why was you saying it?
Right.
Like, listen, man, I got a 7-year-old daughter. I tell her every day, don't be saying stuff if you don't know what it means. Because when they're 7, they hear certain stuff on TV or they hear certain stuff from their parents, and then they think, I guess I can say that.
Right.
Hey, I heard you an a-hole. Whoa. What we doing here? What we doing? Where you hear that from? I heard it from TikTok or something. I don't know. Oh, well, that just because TikTok said it don't mean you can say it. Oh, I didn't know it was a bad word. That's probably a lie. But if they 7, they get a little bit of benefit of the doubt. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
A grown professional that been playing in the NBA for all these years.
Yep.
No. You don't get to say that. And listen, you made a fantastic point earlier. There's been times, you know what I'm saying, you on the game, you in the gulag, you doing your thing, and maybe you just getting killed a lot. You're not 100% focused, you're not in the game, and you just like, you know what, F this, these dudes about to piss me off. You got dudes talking trash to you, because that's what it's about, especially on Call of Duty. You got plenty of people talking trash, so you like, F you, you know what I'm saying, go eat a bag of baby, whatever you got to say to make yourself feel better because you're getting your butt handed to you on the game. So you say stuff, but this is not acceptable. And like we talked about, had he just said, hey, F you, you little B, profanity shouldn't be universally accepted, but it is. Especially for these professional athletes. We know, you think they talking to each other with a censor button on? I doubt it.
On the court, right.
I doubt it. I doubt they walking around saying, you ain't nothing but a bleep. You little bleepity bleep. Like, nah, I doubt that. So this is the arena that they're in. So we wouldn't be that upset about that, but you got to do better than this. And I hope this is a first step to all races. I'm not going to step on what you're going to get into, but I think all races need to pay attention. It's black, Asian, white, all races. Just because you deem it harmless doesn't mean it's harmless. And it's a lot of stuff that's said daily. From my community, the African American, I hear a lot of stuff daily. And I'm like, they don't sound a little bit racist to you? And then I'm an Uncle Tom for saying that. You know what I'm saying? And I deal with that on the daily. But it is what it is. I consider myself a professional. I treat everyone the way I want to be treated. So I don't necessarily go to the color first. I go to how you treat people. How I see you treat people, that's what I go to. So just because you black don't mean I'm going to say, oh, man, that's all right, man. Be a POS, but we black. Let's stick together. No, like that's not how I get down. Or, same thing with a white person. Like, I try to treat everybody equal. That's how I live my life. The Lord has blessed me throughout my life because I live my life like that. And this is unacceptable by Meyers Leonard, but it's a lot of stuff that's unacceptable in sports, period, from all groups. So I don't hang on to this long because I'm not giving the biography of Meyers Leonard. He ain't even that good. I just want to talk about what he said.
Bingo.
So, what he said should be a shot to other professionals, not just NBA players, that you can't do that. You're always being watched. Like, I don't know why these NBA players or these professionals not understanding that. You're always being watched. Be a professional. If you got something to say because you're getting your tail handed to you, get off the game and then say it. Like, you don't have to say it right then and there. You could be like, all right, bro, I'm done. Let me go do my thing. I'll catch up with y'all later. And then you get out there and whatever you say in the process of your own home is what you say, right? Like, no one can say Meyers Leonard got off the game and said this word and that word. Like, nobody cares about that.
Mm-hmm.
So this is just a I think a lesson that needs to be learned by all these professionals, these public figures. You got to knock it off. But before I stop, I just want to say that if you don't know what he said, go and Google it. It's all over the internet. But people, let's let this be known. What he says is just as offensive as if he would say the N word to blacks. To us, we would have been just as offended. So just know what he said was a serious word. Just because it has nothing to do with us, don't make it any less serious. Because it is. That's why the NBA did what they had to do. But we got to get together as a country. We need more to do. We just ain't got enough to do. Like COVID then gave us too much time on our hands, and now we, as a country, we just out here playing with a ball and yawn. Oh yeah, let me do this. You got my attention. And this is not it. We got to get back to where we mind our own business. We working so hard. We going to a goal to where we're not really sitting here stopping to see what's going on here. Stop the killing. Stop the violence. We got to build ourselves back up. And I think just this is like they call it a systematic problem. It's just like a countrywide problem for us. And we got to get back to what we do best, which being innovators, being creators, being this, that, and the third. It's a reason why everybody come to this country to try to build something for themselves. We got to get back to that. Because right now, we worry about a whole lot of nothing. I'm sorry, but we go off on a whole lot of nothing because we have, like, it's the lack of stuff to do, I guess, because of COVID and keep people in the house. Listen, you have somebody trapped in the house for 6 months, some crazy stuff going to happen. And I think as we keep going, that's what's going to happen. Hopefully, my theory is to this. Once the country open back up and we start back doing things as normal, probably with a mask on, but still everything start opening back up and people start having more to do with their time, events like this are going to get lesser and lesser and lesser. And I think we're going to start back getting along as a country. I thought we was getting along. And I'm not saying racism don't exist because it does. But as a country, for the most part, it seemed like we was getting along before the last 2 years of drama that came through and just stripped us of normalcy. So with all that said, man, it's an unfortunate situation. It very is. It really is. But I like the NBA. I like the way they're handling it. I think Meyers Leonard is going to learn from this situation. And unfair to him, his past is getting compound with his present. That's going to make it hard for his future, if that makes sense. It's hope he gotta work his way through, do whatever that's asked of him, change the way he thinks about things, and then hopefully he can bounce back from this. Just like any other player will bounce back from something they might say, and we'll see. But it's just we gotta get more to do. We too many people in this country for us not to have something to do, and that's what I think the biggest culprit is of this. But it's unacceptable. We'll see how this goes. Hopefully this is a lesson for everybody, but we'll see.
Yeah, a couple points I do want to touch where you went just before I forget them. And the first and foremost is Meyers Leonard as an NBA player is quite irrelevant. This is a guy who's played 3 games on the year. He's been out for over 2 months due to a shoulder injury. He will not play again this season. And it's just unfortunate that you have to discuss a guy at his worst moment, and a guy who, for what he does as a profession, he is an NBA basketball player. And this has little to nothing to do with who he is as a player. On the season, and I'm not going to give you averages because a 3-game average does nothing for you, but on the season, he has scored 10 points, gobbled up 7 rebounds, and committed 5 fouls. That is Meyers Leonard of this 72-game COVID-shortened season. That's what he's done. And also, the thing you talk about, and you alluded to it about, kind of the societal, I believe you said countrywide, which is a good way to put it. I'd call it a societal issue. And you hear the term cancel culture is used a lot for it. But the precursor to something like that is the outrage culture, to where, as well as I do, something like this occurs and it's a race for everyone to come out and say, I condemn this. to this degree, to the second degree. And then you got some joke over here like, you know what, I condemn it to the fifth degree. And it's a contest to see who can be the most outraged. That's why I refer to it as outrage culture. And you made a great point, a larger point of the society. And I don't know if you read what I wrote yesterday in a little piece. I go on a little tangent from time to time, on a certain social media platform. But I just look at certain things that we, get bogged down on. For example, Dr. Seuss being racist, or he was racist. And now you can't read the books that you used to read, like The Cat in the Hat or Green Eggs and Ham and all the rest of it. Mr. Potato Head. I don't even know. I didn't even look at that, but there's something wrong with Mr. Potato Head now. And then of course, you got the thing that it's been, for months now, where we sit here and get caught up in, which white man in the Confederacy was a racist 150 years ago. These are not, I say all this, these are not the signs of a functioning, of a serious functioning society. There's too much nonsense going on. And I talked about, yesterday, I was like, I don't know what, Chairman Xi out there in China has going on, but it's not Dr. Seuss and it's not Mr. Potato Head. They're serious about power. While we sit around here arguing over who gets to use which bathroom, they're over there serious about taking over the world. That's what's happening. So, but to the point at hand, and to Meyers Leonard, because I don't want to go way over there on that point. But I think first and foremost, on what he said, you can't have it. And I think that's a point where we can all agree on that. And I think, I do think, and I think I may have had the same initial reaction. When you see racial slur or slur in general, you're automatically saying, oh God, not again, not again. Please don't let it be the N-word. And it wasn't. But regardless, and I think, and I'm going to use, what Adam Silver said about the core values of the NBA. He said one of them is equality. And what I hope that we have from here, because I fully support whatever punishment he wants to lay down, and the $50,000 fine, he said, was the maximum punishment he could give for a situation like this. And I think that's important, because I think we should not have any room for any slur. I'm gonna just say slurs. Any slur against anybody we shouldn't tolerate, whether it's the N-word, whether it was what Meyers Leonard said, whether it's against somebody of Asian descent, whether it's against a white person for that matter. We shouldn't tolerate any of it. And I am glad to see that he put the maximum fine down, because it lets me know if it was a racial slur against a Black person, that it would be the same punishment, I believe. So I think that's encouraging. But I think it's, we do have to be careful on one aspect, because I don't think we want to go down this road 100%. I think this is a dangerous road. If you go down, on one hand, it's one thing to judge someone based off their worst action that really matters. Like for example, if someone commits a murder, that's something you can't come back from. It's over. But something that someone says that, yes, it may be hurtful, it may be offensive, but to excoriate that person to such a degree for one thing they said, that's a dangerous road. And people that, are, in the full midst and leading the charge of outrage culture, that's dangerous. And you have to engage in some sort of empathy and put yourself in someone else's position, because God knows that there have been things that I have said that I wish I wouldn't have said. And if I was a public figure and I was, a Meyers Leonard, I would not want to be the one, getting excoriated to this degree. And now you have, Origin PC, who I believe Meyers Leonard is a pretty good gamer. He had a contract with them or something, and now that's been severed. These are things that matter. And I really hope that we're paying attention, and just not only should we learn from what he said, but we should also learn from the reaction. And not only Meyers Leonard, there's been other folks that have said things they shouldn't have said, and we see what happens to these individuals. And that's a slippery slope. based off, for all the good that someone may have done. And then, Meyers Leonard, he went on about, all the money he's donated in the Miami area and being active in the community, which, a lot of these guys are. But in the public square, at this particular moment in time, no one cares about that. You're defined by what you did wrong. And I think that's a dangerous game. And I do hope when you talk about the NBA and you talk about, the core values of equality and inclusion, and I'll bring this up, I'm not the one to sit here and play victim. That's not what I'm trying to do right now when I bring this up. But when you have the little situation that Montrezl Harrell and Luka Doncic got into in the first round playoff series last year, where I believe Montrezl Harrell said, beep, beep, white boy, or whatever he said, like, that's not a big deal. But at the same time, if we're serious about equality, if you bring race into it, if you bring ethnicity or religious group, whatever it is, and you say something derogatory, if we're going to do this to Meyers Leonard, we have to be consistent for the same idea that at the end of the day in a sporting event, the one thing coaches and players always talk about in terms of the officiating is they want consistency. If you're going to call it tight on both sides and call it tight throughout the entire game. That way we know what to expect. If you're going to let us play, you're going to let more contact, let's be consistent. That same principle needs to be applied to in situations like this. I don't think what Montrezl Harrell said in the first round playoff series to Luka Doncic, that shouldn't be acceptable. Even though I do, I'm not going to sit here and pretend and be outraged myself about what Montrezl Harrell said is as big a deal or as inflammatory as what Meyers Leonard said, it's not the same thing as somebody saying the N-word. But regardless, we should exercise, if we're serious about equality, then we shouldn't allow any of it. No slurs.